Welcome to Elaine Speakeasy. My name is Elaine Rivers, and my guest today is Joseph Wesley.
Mhm.
And Joseph Wesley, I think we'll just refer to him as Joe,
Mhm.
is the founder and CEO of JNL Creative Solutions. And one of the reasons why I wanted to have Joe on my show is because he has discovered the real worth of laughter. And, just in meeting with him and talking with him, I can't help but smile. And so I
Mhm.
hope that your takeaway after watching this show is that you too will smile. And so, with that, thank you for joining me, Joe.
It's my pleasure, Elaine. Thank you very much for your invite.
Well, tell me, how did you get started? JNL Creative Solutions.
Well, I actually started as JNL Creative Tours LLC, and I'm still under that name. JNL Creative Solutions was a result of COVID-19. My prior business involved bringing people together on behalf of my client to allow that client to stand out from the competition by showing unique value to their market. Well, with shelter in place, COVID-19 pretty much took care of that program of putting people together. So rather than focus on people to enhance the brand value or the value proposition of my client, I said, let me focus on that person directly. I make a claim. I make not a claim. I don't claim to see dead people, but I do have the unique ability to see things about people that they don't see about themselves. And as a result, I can discover things that you can bring to your market, to your business, that allows you a competitive edge over anybody else in your environment.
That sounds pretty serious to me there, Joe. Now,
Mhm.
let's just kind of break it down and really talk about the value of humor in the
Okay.
business world.
All right.
I've got a
Well,
quote here from Andrew Carnegie that says, "There is little success where there is little laughter."
interesting.
So, when did you discover this, and how have you been able to incorporate this in your business life so successfully?
Well, actually, I have a long history in this. I've had to go through challenges growing up, becoming involved in my business ultimately. And I found humor as a good escape, a good means of dealing with the world around me. One of my favorite phrases I've learned to say is developing what I call a backhanded compliment.
Mhm.
That if I've done something very well in the big world and people get annoyed at me, they express resentment, they express anger, and I'm not acting out. I'm just doing a very good job at what I'm doing. And the fact that they are annoyed at me for doing a good job, I say, I take it, I've done good. So I call it a backhanded compliment. And that's just one type of humor, of turning a negative into a positive. And I find that we work so hard as humans to be miserable. We really do. It's almost intuitive that we really should be. I want to be an equal opportunity kind of guy, that if you're going to focus on the negative stuff in life, let's also focus on the positive things. Now, I do understand, and I'll take it one step further. I do understand that some people have a lot of issues that they have to deal with. And I'm not here to talk about that. But on the other hand, I think humor is a lot better than hitting the bottle. I think it's a lot better than hitting drugs. It won't change perhaps what's happened at that moment, but it will make things better. In fact, it's a sense of thinking hard of how can I respond to something maybe I didn't like, and twist it into a manner that I can laugh about it. I have a favorite. I tell my wife all the time that when people are always edging you, going at you, coming back to you, if you can turn it into a laugh, at some point you start laughing, hopefully if you do well with this by learning. And you can say, hey, they're trying to screw on me again. You might say, hey, they're trying to make me angry again. And it gets to be silly after a while. So that's something I've been, much of my life, I've always been involved in. Raise it in business is connecting with my audience on behalf of my client. And they say in the industry, if people like you, if they respect you, and if they trust you, they'll be much more inclined to do business with you. Well, they're not going to like me because I give out tons of money. I'm not, I'm not a wealthy kind of guy. And if they don't meet me, if they've not met me before, they can't very well respect or trust me. I'm a new face like any other business owner out there. I have the firm belief that you are the avatar of your business, and nobody else has your DNA sequence, your genetic code, your history, your social skills, your learning, your work ethic. And so we can use humor as a means to connect with your audience. That if you're laughing with me, you're much more inclined to say, hey, Joe gets me. And if I get you on a personal level, I get you on a humoristic level. That might actually be a word. I have to look that up after this call. And they're much more inclined to say, maybe he can also get me for my professional needs too. And that's why I've been humor most of my lifestyle growing up. I've simply I won't say I've refined it. It's just gotten better over the years. It's not something I do consciously. I did it mostly as a coping mechanism to get through life better. And now it's actually become a tool that, and I hate to say it like that because it sounds like I'm doing it deliberately, but I do because I enjoy laughter. I enjoy shared laughter. Let me take this one step further. It also tells me about the audience I'm speaking to, that sometimes I find people who laugh like they've just passed gas and they go, huh? And then did I do that? And that's okay. But it tells me also that that's not likely the kind of person I would want to relate to in a regular manner because we don't have any connectivity. If a person laughs openly, if it's a sincere laugh, their whole body, it tells me that person's open, that they have a quick mind, they feel comfortable enough with themselves, they can share in the laughter. And that's the kind of person that I want to define my market to be. So it's more than just humor, it's interaction. It's bonding with that person and also allowing them to bond back to me.
Well, it's interesting. I was browsing around your website, Joe, and you have a link to a video where a man goes to a bus stop, and the camera pans onto the faces of all the different people around him, and of course they're not paying any attention to him. They probably didn't even notice that he walked up to the same bus stop. I think it was a train stop actually.
Mm-hmm.
But it's interesting. He's standing in back of one gentleman, and then he just sort of starts to laugh
Mm-hmm.
out of the blue. And then his laugh gets a little bit louder, and
Mm-hmm.
people start looking at him strange as if he's going completely out of his mind.
Mm-hmm.
They're trying to read their text messages and read their books, and it's really seen as being disturbing at first,
Mm-hmm.
but then his laughter really gets loud. It
Mm-hmm.
gains volume, and you find that other people are smiling, and then they begin to join him in laughter. It's contagious.
True.
And there's another quote that I have here from Mark Twain that says, the human race has one really effective weapon, and that is laughter.
True.
So you really have your finger on the pulse of something big.
Well, first off, I have to say you're very good in your research. I'd forgotten about that event. That was ages ago, and my hat off to you for doing good research for your programs. I really respect you for that. And yes, humor has always been, as I said, a coping mechanism for me, not so much as a tool, but it's a survival technique. And for many of us who are, quote, minorities, for lack of a better phrase, perhaps, I'll give you a clear example, and this may or may not be crude. It's not crude, but it's direct. I say to my wife, and I say it to myself, but also to my wife, one of the two advantages we have in being Black, and this is humor, by the way. First off, people tend to underestimate us. And as a result, they think they're putting something over our eyes quickly. We kind of see what's coming. So I don't have to work as hard to correct for it, to cover for it. So that's the humor of it, that people will make assumptions, they'll do things that allows me to be more effective in what I want to do.
And to
So
be more of who you are. That reminds me of the phrase, you have to laugh to keep from crying.
exactly.
I used to
And,
hear that quite a bit.
and you just nailed it in one sentence. It took me 25 minutes to get it out correctly.
That's quite all right. When I first met you, and I believe it was at a networking event,
Mhm.
um, I just found you to be so personable, and that easy smile, just really helped to break down barriers. So I cannot imagine you encountering barriers, even as an African American and as a successful entrepreneur, because there's something about the smile uh,
Mhm.
that speaks to the soul of a person.
I think so,
You
yes.
were saying that you try to get a feel for people based on how they react to
Mhm.
certain prompters, but I would dare say, Joe, that if you can break through whatever that wall or that obstacle happens to be within a person, um, if you can break through and tap into that little bit of something there, it can
Mhm.
really make for a great relationship. Talking about relationship building.
Yes. Well, again, humor is a form of communication. It's instinctive. It's basic, and it's sincere. If somebody tells a joke half-heartedly, they say the delivery. And I think the delivery depends on how sincere about you are about making your presentation. It speaks volumes of the presenter. But there's also a challenge because if my humor doesn't work well for my audience, the person I'm talking to, then I've done a bad misread. And I don't want to do that to be successful in business. I spend a lot of time when I first meet somebody is trying to learn as much about them as I can. And I'm admittedly very shy to express my real humor wholeheartedly until I get a better comfort level for that person because I don't want to muck things up. And that's a positive for me because if I take more time learning more about who you are, how you feel, what you stand for, and I can make the connection through humor, then it tells that other person, I hope, that I've made some effort to understand you well enough to also bring a smile on your face. So for me, besides enjoying the sense of humor and laughter, it's reflecting back to that person, the audience, that I've taken the time to understand you well enough to have you connect with me. And as a business person, as an entrepreneur, hey, look, I got to keep the creditors happy. That's rule number one. And the better I can get people to feel comfortable that I get you well enough to serve best your needs, your interest, we're much likely to do business together successfully.
And of course, that's what it's all about. That is the bottom line, right? That we connect in a way in which we develop relationship, and hopefully that relationship then turns into something that results in a great partnership, a win-win, as they say. So let's turn a corner with this because there's a downside. I was reading an article written by the Harvard Business Review
Mhm.
that's online about um, leadership through humor, using humor in the workplace.
Okay.
But of course, there is that fine line because humor sometimes can be misconstrued,
Yes.
depending on its aim, or if you or I happen to be the target of that humor, it may not be perceived as being as funny as intended.
Sure.
So tell us a little bit about your experiences, and really speaking to the entrepreneur who was really listening to this and writing down the notes that, yeah, I can use laughter, I can
Mhm.
use humor, I can make it work by using the gifts and talents of humor that I have. But
Mhm.
talk about that fine line.
Well, I did say a few moments earlier that the critical part of or the danger of humor, as you've indicated, is that you misread your audience. And if it comes across not very well, it's very hard to double back from that. And you can see it as an obstacle. That concern, I see it as a challenge. And if I'm going, rephrase that, I'll say this differently. I'm a biology major by history, and that's important because I understand the issue of physiology to some degree more than the average person. And when I see, by the way, but however, I hate exercising with a passion. And when I see commercials with people on TV grinning as they're exercising, I know philosophically there's supposed to be this wealth of endorphins being released, just oozing through my skin surface, and I am euphoric. It does not work that way. I don't get the commercials. However, I did decide if I want to be a hunk, I got to exercise. And that's the humor of it. So you can look at it as the misery of it. Oh, I would never exercise. It's too much. This is too much that. It's a lot. But if we want, and when I say just not physical hunk, but also a business hunk, if I want to be successful in my industry, there are just certain things I'm going to have to learn to make it happen. So I've twisted the issue of I hate exercising. I may even hate working hard to get a business together, but which I don't. But let's say I do to some degree. But if I want to be successful, I can either look at this as obstacles I'm trying to avoid at all costs and somehow still be successful, or I'm going to take it in a different light, make it a positive concept, laugh about it to make it lighter in my mode of thinking. And that's why I think humor works well for me. Other people may use other venues. I think that the greater importance here is sincerity and not make-believe. Growing up in my community, the last thing people want to hear, he's fake or she's fake, or she's got a telephone personality. So however you come across, it has to be sincere. For me, humor works. Yeah, authentic, same concept, exactly, better said. So humor for me is a way of expressing myself, of bonding, and I enjoy the feeling of laughter, of back and forth. And by the way, it shows if people, now rephrase that, if people get my sense of humor, it shows, because I have a style. Some people are one line kind of punch people. I like to tell a story to lead up to it. And just in absorbing that person who's listening at that moment, if they share my style, then that already made a baby step to mutual relationship development. And by the way, humor, when you tell a story, that's my philosophy, it says something about myself. What are my likes? What are my thoughts? Why am I telling this story? Where is it going? If nothing else, maybe I have your interest if I do it well for the motion of the story. So it's a form of communication. It's much better than, to me, what's your sign? Or what's your birth date? Or what are your star readings? I don't get that stuff. My wife loves it, by the way. I don't get it. But I can share humor with somebody and connect with that person without worrying about trying to find something to talk about.
Well, that's a nice segue into talking about JNL Creative Solutions, because as a storyteller, that is very much a part of your business, your forte, and how you I don't want to say entertain your clients, your customers, but that's one of the attractive points that you offer.
I would say engage. And
yes.
I have what I call my 3 E's plus 1 E. And then when I say E, the letter E, that for me, a successful moment is not an event, it's an experience. That's my plus 1 E. And the other 3 things I want to accomplish is that I've engaged my audience, I've educated my audience, and geez, what's the 3rd E? I've lost already. I was very good about this. That engage, educate, and the 3rd E will come back later. I feel like Al Gore now or somebody like that. But the point I'm making is that it's a means of communication. It's a means of interaction. And whatever style you get for me, or you make, for me, it's humor as a technique to communicate with. That on behalf of my client who wants to stand out from the competition, to answer you more directly, to help them get in front of an audience and have the audience says, that's me, that person thinks like I think. They believe the things I believe in. And I'm not talking politics, but the style of talk. Get people to nod in the audience as I agree with you totally on that point, or mostly on that point. And you get your audience to nod with you, smile with you, and holler out, "That's me," then you've got an edge over somebody else that will come in a more stiff, functional, structured format. And some businesses are that, but the focus right now is how humor, laughter, engagement, and really the key word here is engagement, works well for your audience, for your business also.
Well, I am so impressed because, you've just made it work. So, in our final minutes, Joe, please tell us how someone can get in contact with you. As a matter of fact, who's your customer? Who is the ideal customer, and how does that customer get involved or contact you?
Well, actually, that's probably the easiest question you've asked me. Who's my ideal customer? My ideal customer is somebody who says, I've done good for my business. I think I have a competitive edge over everybody else, but nobody is yet recognizing me, not knowing about me, not understanding me. So I'm going to go out and I'm going to do one of several things. First off, if I have that free website, whatever it may be, I'm not going to use that anymore. I'm going to pay a web designer to give me the quality website that I deserve for my business, for my clients. Or I might go to a marketing expert who has the ability to get me in front of people in a manner that's attractive, that will elicit what's called a call to action to get people to come back and actually purchase my product or my service. And the third item might be a business coach, where I would realize that I need more skills that I currently have in hand. And so I want to hire somebody to help me become better at what I do. And I'll use the web design person as an example. The first thing they will ask you, well, what is it you want to accomplish with your website? What's your value proposition? Too often, the same designers complain, the client will say, well, you figure it out. I gave you my stuff, you read it, you look at it, you make it happen. Well, geez. Even though I'm a good web designer, I'm not an engineer, I'm not an artist, I'm not a singer, I'm not a performer. I got to learn the terminology. I got to make it work. Two things happen. The designer feels that they're overwhelmed, undervalued for what they're doing. And the client says, I'm wasting my money. I told you to make me better. So in this instance, that client doesn't understand the value proposition. What is it that makes me distinctively better than anybody else in my industry that I'm serving? What I do is I help you discover your hidden brand value. And that goes back to my earlier statement that I don't claim I see dead people, but I do see things about you that you may not see for yourself. And as a result, let's give it substance, let's give it form. And this is unique to you that nobody else has. And once we develop that, we can turn it over to your web designer, your marketing coach, or your business coach, and let them implement it, kick it out in the market around you. So my ideal client is somebody who really wants to get ahead, and they realize they need additional resources they can themselves bring to the table to get their business out to the people it ought to be serving.
And so how do they contact you? Give us your website and your contact number. Or
well, what I'd like to do, I'll give my number because the website is too many words. And if you don't write it down well, but I would say my number is, they can either contact you, obviously, or my number would be area code 201-312-4684. So I'll say that again, 201-312-4684. My name is Joe Wesley. By the way, let me know that you've heard me through the Elaine program. Maybe we'll get a discount going, something like that. So I can give Elaine feedback and say, hey, besides really doing good research, you also bring good people to the market. But certainly a first call, no fee for that. We call it a consultation call. And if you have further interest, feel free to holler out. If you things about this that didn't make sense, or you'd like to hear more about, please contact Elaine. I'm sure she'd be more than happy to, from her end, work it. But if you have questions about your business specifically, I'm looking forward to your call.
Well, thank you so much, Joe Wesley, for joining me on Elaine Speakeasy. And I thank all of you. And I hope that you have several nuggets that you're going to take away from this. And one of the things that I have to remind you to do is just, be happy, smile, use laughter and humor to, break through whatever it is you're facing and to keep going. Keep on keeping on is what the
Yeah.
elders used
You
to
got my
say.
thumbs up on that.
So thank you once again, Joe Wesley. Thank all of you. Join me once again on Elaine's Speak Easy next time. Be safe, be well.
Thank you, Elaine.